All right, I'm here in New York with Eli, and we were going to talk about the user experience design for the Sugar font editor on the whiteboard here. Yeah, basically,
you're using your camera.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah. So my basic idea, for this is having like a Eli, hello, having like a structure for the user interface, right? So it's like a drill down structure. So at the top end, you have like a font manager, and so there you have the list of families. So this is like family 1, family 2, family 3, and then one of these is sort of like selected. You click through to it, and then that brings you to like the next level. That within the family, then you have the styles, and so within that, then you have like regular, bold, black, and then you have like the italics, bold italic, black, italic. And I mean, maybe this is like shown differently. Maybe the rather than just being a single list, then these are paired. So you have regular, italic, bold italic, black italic, and then at the bottom of these lists, or maybe at the top, right? So maybe it's this one that's selected. But here we have like add new at the top. And then similarly, you can add like new styles into the family. And then if you click that, or if you select one of these to go to the next level, then within a style, then you have the table of glyphs. So again, you'd have like add new at the top, and then you have your classic table of glyphs. And it's the same thing again, that whether you click new one or you select this one to move through, then you get another screen where you would have this sort of glyph editing. And inside this window, then like maybe the actual screen is going to cover like 2 of these columns at a time, and as you drill down, then it shifts to this, and actually like this is quite a narrow column, and this is like most of the screen.
What if I wanted to fork an existing style? Would that be something?
So I think that's going to happen in the layers, because like thinking about this on,
because I think that might
like
be something.
2D plane, right? Is that you have you can imagine the styles like the weights from like the black, and then you have like the Roman and italic styles, and then forks different versions of different layers of that.
Is that going to be immediately obvious to children?
What would you suggest?
I don't know. I haven't. So just some way to make it obvious that you've got so you have a font family, and let's see. So you have add new, and so add new being there at the top, that's going to be like what people just go for because it's there and available, and that's going to bring them to an empty set of glyphs, right? So completely blank canvas.
I guess so. I mean, I think that certainly, you know, like in terms of like the first release, that I just wanted it to be like totally blank.
Yeah.
But I think that we should have like an alphabet filled in. Like the most basic font is an A to Z, numbers, and like a few core punctuation.
I think that that's something that's going to turn a lot of people off, is they just are presented with a blank set of glyphs and have to start from nothing. It'd be nice if they started with something basic.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be nice if there were a few, like, add new, if you do, like, add new, there might be a couple different styles, like add new serif and add new sans.
Well, I think that we can bundle some template UFOs to start with.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and there could be, I mean, you could have, this probably wouldn't be the best way to do it, but if there's, you could have a little, I mean, this wouldn't be readable, but just like a way to fork that. Because I think that's like the value, right? Is like in this for, like, that you can take an existing typeface and make changes to it.
I see. Right. So really we'd have like an edit button and a fork button.
Yes. Yeah.
So this
I don't know.
like
I'm wondering how you would make that clear. It might just.
Well, I
think
so I don't think we need to get too bogged down into the actual UI mechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm trying to lay out here is a sort of an abstract model for like the hierarchy of the units. And there's a like a higher level order, right? So this was like families, and then this was styles, and then this is glyphs, and then this is like contours, I guess. And then, like, as well as it, like the glyph level, like what's inside a style, where you have these styles, and then you also have, like, within a family, you have a consistent set of OT features. I suppose that you have a consistent set of glyphs within it as well. Right, that you don't want different glyphs within different styles in a family. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you do. Like an italic, you might want extra glyphs.
Or it makes sense. Like, there might be ligatures in one style and not ligatures in the other.
Yeah. But maybe for kids, it's good to simplify that.
I wonder how, so this is to add a glyph, you would just hit that button.
Yeah.
And then you would name it.
Right.
And then a Unicode value would be.
Right. So another like level of this is like the table view, where you have, you know, like a preview of the glyph, and then the glyph name, and then you know, the Unicode value.
This is one thing. I mean, Glyphs does an amazing job of making this easy.
Right. Left bearing. Right.
Where something like RoboFont, you're really like. RoboFont, you're just on your own to like figure out your own Unicode. Just
right.
You know what you want. You know what you're doing. Or Glyphs really makes this easy.
Right. But at another higher level of abstraction above families, then this is where you have, so this would be like sugar sands, right?
Yeah.
There's like a specific family. But then in the sets, then you'd have sans, serif, slab, mono, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So then this is selected, oh hang on, and then there's, so this is going to have
and
like
all the system fonts show up on this, right?
Right, and this is
Okay.
because this is so in terms of like 2 per screen, this is a font manager where you
Okay,
have
yeah.
collections or sets and families within those sets. And
all the system fonts are properly classified where you could get that information.
well, there's not that many. It's easy to
Yeah.
classify that.
Okay.
And then so you drill down from families to styles, drill down from styles to glyphs, and glyphs to contours, and then in the contours, then we talked, about having this sort of split some way so that we have this becomes, then there's like a sidebar list, a top bar list, right, where we have like different icon
Mm-hmm.
areas. And so this is where we might have, like with some RoboFont, there's like flip, rotate, what else was there? Shearing,
Yeah, sure.
scaling. And
We could also put like an effect in there, like ruffle the. Like, it doesn't have to all be serious. Like there could be a fun effect.
right. So there's like filters, roughen. You have like cap endings. And then in our mock so far, we had along the top like another glyph picker, right?
Yeah.
So this is like this. And then my model was that you would like hit one of these to select it. So if you go like B, E, then you get E.
Mm-hmm.
And then like
Well, instead of typing it in.
right. Right.
Because the way I envisioned it was that like you would click on, if you just wanted to edit one glyph, you could click on it up here, but there would also be the option to type it in a preview window, like if you wanted to write hello.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. So this is always like a text input, right? It's like a big caret.
Yeah. This is one screen. Or that's one screen.
Well, yeah. So it's actually this is worth one screen. So, here you have the toolbars. And then I guess running like running along the bottom of the whole thing, there's like a scroll bar
to deal with the horizontal
so
movement.
move across. Or maybe there's like a
Arrows on the edges. Or maybe that wouldn't work.
I think in GTK there's a toggle where you have it at the top, right? So
That way of working of having different
it's like Metabulator. There's like a switcher at the top. And it's like sets, families, styles, this.
Yeah. But then that would just match what the
Yeah,
horizontal
and
layout.
when you click it slides you across. So that's like a standard GTK widget.
It's actually a comfortable way to work. It's how I've been working with like OS 10 spaces. Like just everything's laid out horizontally.
Right.
And then just like commands.
Yeah, left and right.
Left and right. It's a comfortable way to work. It's not always the most intuitive, but I think having the visual up here would help.
Yeah. And this is how Metabulator is laid out as well.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of iPad apps. Like
Metabulator, though, it did take me a while to. It is not as intuitive as it could be. I think the thing that needs the most work here is adding new glyphs. Seems complicated and overwhelming. Also,
well, I mean, I think that you have this button, right? It's like emphasized, this big old plus, and then when you click it, then you're gonna get like a modal, and it says like add glyphs, and then there's a text box in there, and you just type in like the string that you want.
Okay.
Or you can type in the glyph names that you want, separated by slashes. That's like a standard font editor thing.
Yeah, that makes if add glyph, you just type the glyph you want to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
You could also have a picker, so that because I think one of the interesting things is that with the XO you have these gamepad things, right? So one of the things I'm interested in is thinking about how to make these activities that are basically keyboardless. With the XO4 you have a touchscreen as well. So maybe when you get add glyph, then it's the same thing, and there's like a switcher at the top, and there's like typing. It's like Unicode typing, and then the glyph name typing, and then like a picker, and then with the picker, then you get like a Unicode browser basically that shows you all possible things, and this is using Noto to fill in every slot, and then you select the ones that you want.
Yeah.
And then you could operate that with the D-pad, right? That you like, because this is what I think is interesting about this like drill down thing, is that you can just move the D-pad left, up, down, right, like right, up, down, left, and you can like move through these columns and select, with the 4 buttons, you can select which action you want. And so maybe we could use that, like that this could be. So I had these 2 things here for edit, but maybe there's 4 things there, and so it's like edit, fork, like rename, delete.
So if you want to remove it from the system, like if you made a bunch of,
Or like activate, deactivate.
yeah.
Mhm.
I wonder, so in the family selection area, if you, maybe instead of having like all the options like crammed in here, you could somehow like select it and then it would give you. So this is all you see on the screen, right? This is one screen.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe what actually fits on the screen is going to vary, but the screen on the Exo is pretty small.
Yeah. So maybe this would just be one screen.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm also thinking about this like an old Nokia phone, right, where each of the items was numbered, and you could type on the number pad, you know, like 732, and it took you to like the notifications option.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, having this like columns drill down thing allows us to make it responsive to even like mobile phones, because then the mobile phone is like a thin column, and you know, on the mobile phone, you know, it's like that. You get one letter.
So you have like your different families here. I wonder if, so it would be obvious like you scroll through here with the D-pad or click on them.
Mhm.
It'd be, instead of, maybe there could be like a specimen window here. So it's like, it's funny looking.
You need to move over a bit. So
Oh, yeah. So like having, so you could select here, you'd get a very basic specimen, because I think that a lot of times when selecting a typeface to work on, they're just not going to know what they're working with. Like, there's going to be a lot of that, like, let me like work on this one. It might be the kind of, like a lot of older font editors would do. They would just have like the font name in the font, and then that was usually like a terrible way to select the font, because then you just select one and then you'd actually see it in a different form and it wouldn't be what you wanted.
Right, right.
So
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a terrible problem, because it means there are fonts which are illegible at the size of the menu.
Yeah, and it gives preference to like wacky headline fonts.
Right.
Because
you can see them at that size, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see something that, I mean, in that way of displaying it, it looks bad, but then you actually see it in a specimen and you'll, it's pretty obvious like what its function is.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of storm type fonts are like that.
Yeah.
Where they look really wacky, like like some total amateur has done it. But then when you set them in text, like the rhythm and the texture is like really good.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going through, I mean, I think there's a lot to be done with like adding stuff to the top menu too, but we've got a bunch of all the stuff up here that we need. You're going through selecting them, and then you select one, and then you get just a very basic specimen. And then below it, maybe you could have So when the specimen shows up, then you could get like, I'm not sure if 4 is the right, but basically like fork, edit.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, like distinguishing between fork and edit, because I think a lot of people, a use case would be, oh, I just want to change one thing, or like add one glyph.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like making it really clear like what forking is, and like making it clear that that's something that you can do. It's like take.
But kind of abstractly, like, you know, like your like git commit tree, you know, you fork, and then maybe you merge, and that like these rows are kind of like duplicates.
Yeah.
And so when you're editing, then you're making these changes, and then when you make a fork, it makes sense because you want to merge it back in. But with fonts, you know, you have like convergent forking like this, which is aiming to get back to a single thing.
Yeah.
And then you have divergent forking where you're taking the existing work and like remixing it into a new line.
It's interesting. You could almost have like, this is crazy, but you could have like a merge button down here to like fork and merge. That's too much work.
I don't know. I mean, how would that work? Because you'd have to have, you know, for each font, then you would. I mean, you've got these like two kinds of.
It wouldn't know what to do. I mean, you could just check to see like, are these glyphs the same?
Well, yeah. So
if they're not the same,
for at the glyph level, then you have like this A, and like, you know, this doesn't exist yet. And then you have a fork action. It's coming up here. And then you have like the same A, but then this one, you know, has a different A design. And then maybe this one also has a different A design, like this. You know, like if this is sticking out to the right, now it's sticking out to the left, now it's sticking out to the right. Like this one hasn't changed. And then the merge operation is just copying this one over the top of that one. So that this is now that one.
Yeah. That's something to look at. I think it'd be interesting if it's easy, but it's not something that if it turns out to be difficult.
But then the next the next thing is, you know, that like you've got the B, and then the B, you know, is also forked at the same time. You know, into this version. It's like the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then say the merge happens here. So then this is now like curly B. And then like no change.
So it just would give you like a.
Well, it's essentially like this, but then these are like, it's like the matrix, where these like with all the previous versions.
I mean, I think that would be cool if it's easy to do.
And then when you click on one, then it like concertinas, and it shows you all of the like forked versions.
That could actually be. I think that would be interesting. Like, I think they would just be visually kind of cool to look at.
Mm-hmm. Right, because with the journal, the most recent work's at the top, like a blog, right? And the previous stuff is like waterfall down, infinite scroll down.
Mm-hmm.
And with this glyphs table, I've done this like Glyphs app has it, where you have rows for the different glyphs and then columns for their attributes. But maybe you could also flip it around so that this was A, B, C, D, E, and then the rows are actually like the Unicode values, and then the left side bearings, right side bearings, and so on, like the attributes of the rows.
Yeah.
And that in the editing view, it's the same thing. That the glyphs are columns.
I have a hard time picturing like the child that's going to be looking at like a spreadsheet of glyph attributes, like side bearings and stuff. Like, because maybe that kid's out there.
I think so. If you look at like Tam Tam, like the music apps.
I play Tam Tam. I like Tam Tam.
But isn't that like a similar level of complexity?
Tam Tam's interesting because Tam Tam breaks it up into lots of different applications.
Uh-huh.
But you're right. I mean, it is a similar level of complexity.
I don't think that it's a problem giving a kid a table of data.
A spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet. I mean, I think that that's like, this is like one of the things that I got off of reading the old Alan Kay stuff.
Yeah.
Is it like hypercard, spreadsheets, like structured markup? Like there are a few like super powerful ways of representing data interactively. And probably the markup thing isn't really very strong in Sugar from what I can see. But there is like a spreadsheets app, right? And like GTK has like standard table or like what do they call it, like a data grid or something.
Yeah. I mean, if we were gonna do that, like making it look really nice would be something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, so how would you get to that again? You'd get to that from this window?
Well, so yeah, I mean, in terms of like the highest level hierarchy, you go from sets of families to individual families, which are themselves sets of styles. And then an individual style is a set of glyphs, and then a glyph is a set of contours.
Okay. What is when you just when you open the app or that activity and you just get the little logo sits there for a minute. What's the first screen? It's just the first thing you see is just.
I think that the first thing that you see is going to be a list of families, and the list of collections is going to be not more than a quarter or a third of the screen, and then the rest of it is going to be this list of families. But that itself isn't, like a very wide list.
So it's two. The first thing you see is two lists,
and the rows in the second list can be more like this, right?
Yeah.
In the moment when you load it, you get a single list of very thin rows.
Yeah.
And you get a hello world sample text that's hard coded, and a star, and the font family name, and then the sample text. Is that right? There's 3 columns. There's star, family name, sample text.
Yeah.
So I think if we triple the height of those rows, then we have space to do a bit more layout, a bit sort of like this.
Yeah, I think like I think it would be a mistake if the first window is like the most boring window, because it's like there's all this like really cool stuff going on here, and it's like the first window is just like the most. I could see someone just opening it up, getting a little confused, and then never making it to all the interesting stuff here. Like, ideally, you would open it up and it would be instantly obvious how to do something really fun and impressive and interactive, and not be
But isn't that just managing fonts? Like, you have like this whole, you've got like a,
so when you open it up,
fonts.
it's obviously like this is a font manager. You're managing your fonts. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is kind of perfect. Like if this was the first screen.
Because this is a bit more like the new Google fonts, right?
Yeah.
Because the old Google fonts also used to load just a list of single line samples, and now it loads these kind of square cards with a few lines, and it's the same amount of text. It's just wrapped differently, and people seem to really respond to that. So if our thing also has like these cards, but then you've got these little action buttons.
Yeah, I mean, would you even need the list if you could it just be like, I mean, not to like just exactly copy Google fonts, which is probably what everyone expects.
No, I mean, it's standard material design, having little cards.
Just having, instead of having the list, just having a scroll bar or something, and you just scroll through a collection of cards.
Right.
And the cards could be really beautiful. I mean, that's, like, I'd love it if it looked visually impressive, like when you first opened it up. I mean, you could have maybe got your big glyphs, uppercase, lowercase, other characters, maybe a little bit larger type, and then maybe like 10-point type over here, something.
And then similarly, when you hover over them, or when you touch them, right? When you hover or click on it, then you get additional widgets.
Yeah, and then, yeah, I mean that way you wouldn't have to have this thing like so.
Right, and so in the Sugar like UX, you have this top bar, right? So you've got
it could almost be like this. It's like so you click on the specimen, and then it could just go to the choices, and the card, like it could just clear the card and bring the choices up on that
the
card.
choices of other 4 actions.
The 4 actions. So you could like for merge, deactivate.
Yeah.
So maybe like fork, merge, activate, deactivate, and delete.
Hang on a second. So
and then this would be cool. Okay, so you have the cards, and the first card in the upper left-hand corner could just be like, make your own from scratch. It's like
telling you what to do in itself.
Or it could be like sans template, or I mean, this would require there actually to be like a Libra template.
Yeah, we have some.
It's just a basic starting point, like sans. I think that would be cool. And so
the interaction model is you get this first screen, and then when you hover over it or you click it, then it turns into this action box.
Yeah, so I guess that would make sense. You hover over it, it shows you the possible actions.
And for touch, you click it,
and it shows
and it also shows the actions. Yeah.
And then so when those, you select the actions, that wouldn't, I don't know if you'd still want to do the serif slab mono category. I feel like that might be too limiting because like breaking things into styles.
So another thing that is in the Google Fonts directory is the filters sidebar on the right.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had this left sidebar and we were thinking about having that as like a standard font manager filters thing, but if these are hash tags instead, then maybe one of those actions is like categorizing it. And then
well, I mean, what if something is like,
this is, I don't know what the search icon is in Trigger, but like traditionally, you have your little spyglass, and then that's going to pull in this, sidebar, and then these are all pre-selected.
so if there was like display, like if I wanted a sans mono display.
If you wanted a sans mono, then you deselect these so that they become, what was it? Brush. Sorry, whatever. So you like deselect them so they're like not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Then these are the tags that are selected, and then that's.
I wonder if that's not. That might not be very intuitive.
I don't know. I mean, I think
there was like someone. I was reading it this morning. I didn't finish the article, but I was reading a critique of Google Fonts, and they were talking about like.
Yeah, I've seen that
like
one.
I've seen it. Almost like a Venn diagram would be a better way.
That's right.
Because there can be like the way it works now. You select certain things, and you just the way people think about that when they're presented with it is just a default to just selecting one.
So basically, it's in Boolean logic terms. Currently, it uses and, but it should be using or. Yeah. So or exclusive or XOR. Right. At the moment, if you say sans mono, then you get all the sans and all the mono fonts. Mm-hmm. But that's not what users expect. Users expect an XOR so that they only get the stuff which is both sans and mono.
Yes.
Which sounds back to fun, but Boolean logic's weird. Yeah. And what I'm proposing is the same as that.
Yeah.
Right. But these would be user modifiable. So in the Google Fonts directory, there's just 5 categories: sans, serif, mono, handwriting, display. Mm-hmm. And I'm suggesting that these are like tags. And there's a great third-party Google Font directory called by Katie Decora, mm-hmm. and it's like tagging Google Fonts. And it basically has this. So when you load it, you get a sidebar with a bunch of tags. Mm-hmm. And when you click on one of them, it shows you just the fonts that are tagged with that. And then when you click the next tag, I think it is additive like Google Fonts. But the point is the reason I think this is intuitive is that when you just click around, you see kind of what happens.
Yeah.
And that it's intuitive when it's presented to you, not when it's hidden behind a menu.
So this would be one screen. You would select here, and then what is here would change.
Right. And that, like with Google Fonts, there's a button in the top primary toolbar to search, and that's activated, and this sidebar is on. And when you click that off, it goes away, which is how it works on Google Fonts.
Why is it important for kids that are learning about editing fonts to classify them into categories?
Because they get a bunch of fonts with their machine, and classifying fonts is fun, right? No,
but this kind of assumes that that they know what sans, sans is meaningless if you don't know what
I don't
it's
know. When I was a
referring to.
kid, I knew all the different kinds of dinosaurs.
That it's referring to a sans serif, like that. I'm not convinced that you even need to classify the fonts.
Well, currently, the OLPC OS ships with like 100 different fonts.
I think so. I need to.
But I mean, that's my impression that from the screenshots of the fonts activity, you've got loads of fonts, and they're all shitty system fonts. That say. But we now in the 10 years.
I mean, it's funny. So you've got 100 fonts, and most of them are bad system fonts. Almost the more important way to classify them is by quality. Which are the good ones, and
right.
Because I remember being a kid and looking through font I have vivid memories of looking through font menus and not knowing what the classifications were, not being able to find what I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah. What would be cool is, this is what you're thinking about, right? But maybe there's a classification and there's a card that actually just briefly explains what that is. Say this is a monospace font is a font that all the characters have the same width.
Yeah.
Or a sans serif font doesn't have the little serifs.
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's great. I think I think in the YouTube interface they do some stuff like that where there's some kind of card-based things for translation and subtitling, and then when you load it up, then it has a little info box that says this is where we list the subtitles. And it's got an X at the end, and you box it out.
That would be. That would actually be. As far as it being an education project, you just simply have a little. This would be a lot of work, but just a little illustration about that's the serif, and this is why it's there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so first screen, second screen, you go to the Glyph Grid. From the Glyph Grid, I don't really remember how you get to that.
We didn't talk about how you would flip it, but I started off with just the assumption that you have a standard grid of glyphs, and Yash has already implemented something like that. Right? Yeah, maybe there's some kind of cog, or maybe it's Glyphs has there's an A and a list, or it's a 3x3 matrix and a list, and that you just toggle because it's the same data, right? You've got your table of glyphs. And then
Good gear, G or something.
Nice. But so you have a table of glyphs, you have of glyph previews, you have a table of glyph attributes, and then you have this matrix view of the of the glyph histories.
think that makes sense. I think that the top bar is already kind of a mess. So just like kind of like putting all the like messy interface stuff up there. Anyway, it's a pretty good solution.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I mean the glyph. I do really like the idea of getting away from like just having the horizontal scrolling. I'm really attached. I think that's smart. Like this 3-leveled interface seems pretty good to me. Toolbars on the side. I guess it'd be something that figuring out this toolbar more should be important. I would love to see, I still really like the idea of having the like style of toolbar where it's like your different contexts. Like these are like different, like these are like effects, and these are like moving things. And then depending on what you have selected over here, you get something different over here.
But would it make more sense to like Inkscape and Photoshop and many things do? It's just a classic tabbed interface, right?
Yeah.
Where you have your secondary bar and then your primary bar, and then when you click these individual icons on the primary bar, then that reveals tabbed contents for the secondary bar. And so this would be that same thing, but it would be next to it like this. And so you're selecting the like moving things. So then this is selected. This is like hand tool. This is like the endings tool, and then because this is selected, then this then has moving tool and the rotate tool. And a shearing tool, and so on. And then, like the most basic thing is the little pointer. And maybe there's like a grid tool.
So you're
So rather than having these split, that when you change something here, something over here changes, it's like they're next to each other, and then that allows you to use it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think in Inkscape actually.
Do you like Inkscape?
I think Inkscape has both, right? Because you can dock things like the layers palette, and then you can choose which ones are there. But then you have a regular tools palette along the left edge, and a color picker along the bottom edge. And then when you pick different tools from the tool picker, there's a secondary bar that then changes.
Inkscape, I really.
It's the same as Illustrator, though. What I just said is the same as Illustrator.
I'll have to make some. I got an invite to Figma, which I've been using. I'll have to make some notes.
Oh, that's that thing with the new Bezier drawing.
Yeah. I've just done a little bit of testing on it so far, but it seems really good. Like they're trying to replace Sketch. I was sorry. I was actually planning on doing some line drawings in that tonight, so I'll have to maybe do some kind of approach it, like thinking about how to organize tools.
Yeah.
But I think this whole thing, like, I think this is basically it. I think that's figured out. I don't think there's a lot to do. I think there's a lot more work with this stuff to do than like this is. I think this is something that's like really gonna. It's basically figured out, and it's gonna take care of itself once we can test it.
Okay, so we've talked about the first load screen. So you come into the first load screen, and then you have the option to like edit a font or to create a new font. And then when you do either of those things, you get this glyph picker, and then you can see all the glyphs, and then you click onto one, and it opens this edit view, where it then allows you to add other glyphs to the context of the one that you picked, and to see a little preview text. Now you've made some changes. Now you want to get out, right? So how do we drill back up? So you
would that be the
right. So you've made the changes that you want, and then in the tackulator, the final screen is the export screen. But in a way, that like loops back to the family stuff. And then I also haven't thought about how to deal with the source versus binaries difference.
Because there's going to be a lot of moving. Like if someone's actually using this to make a font, there's a lot of, like once they get into the rhythm of it, a lot of it's going to be moving back and forth between these two screens.
I don't think so. I think that
it's all good.
You can select which glyphs to edit.
You won't need the glyphs anymore because you can type them here and select them up there.
Right.
So this is really just. I wonder if we could just eliminate this altogether.
I still think people like to see a table of all of the glyphs in the font.
Yeah.
And that if we eliminated that, then
maybe this could be. So maybe
there'd be no place for this, and there'd be no place for this, and both of those things.
But maybe we could think of. Maybe, is there a way we could think of this as the export screen also? Like the glyph view has a export section below it, so might be.
But I don't think that's discoverable. I think if you had to scroll all the way to the bottom, that people are not going to see that.
Well,
I think it's more at this level, right? That we're talking about individual files, so. It's not about sets of families.
Yeah.
It's not about families. I think it's about font styles. It's not about individual glyphs because the glyphs exist within the font. So I think it's and then we actually have like a blank space.
Like one of these options might be export.
Right.
And there's also, the thing Yasha was talking about today, which was filling out all the info, like style name. That stuff.
I said that to begin with, we're not even going to deal with different family styles, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to think of a family as being a font. Keep it simple. And that's another thing that we could, we have very limited disk space on the Xode by default, right? So we don't have tons of space for tons of fonts. So maybe it makes more sense that actually this thing doesn't deal with any of those shitty system fonts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a UFO world, right? Where
I like that. I think that's probably the way to go.
And so then
but there could be the program could ship with like a basic sans, a basic serif, a basic, I think like kind of like a calligraphic black letter or almost like something like a very basic black letter or something like that.
Sure. But the activation then is when you click activate, then it turns the UFO into a binary and then activates it in font config.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you deactivate it, then it like deletes the binary. And the binary is essentially just like a cached version of the UFO.
Yeah.
But we might want to have a share tool
to make it available on the national park.
No. I mean to get the TrueType out to install in other systems.
Oh.
The collaboration thing is also something we haven't really thought about. But I think that's fine. I think that we can figure out the system fonts, and then do we need a system fonts manager? I don't think so.
I think it would be smart to like, because it's like the cool, like you just have to kind of like pick your battles and like obsessing over like supporting the system fonts. Like
no, it's just garbage, isn't it?
Yeah,
because we want something that's for kids, so we want like eventually this to be stroke based.
Yeah.
And the Cairo, I've seen when I was looking at the Cairo API, it has some stuff for doing strokes with butts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to work out really nicely because we can rely on Cairo for doing the stroking.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I mean we have to see this in the next few weeks, but I think that we can make quite quick progress on that.
That would be.
So the system fonts are not stroked fonts.
I'm gonna kind of like admit my ignorance, but something I would love to figure out with Cairo is like, so I just have like a stroke, like an H, and I want to make maybe like a brush shape.
Yep.
And then just have that like
Yep.
work its way down the stroke.
Yeah.
And then, but okay, so I have this, and maybe this is like, okay, so move this along this stroke 100 times.
Yeah.
But then to actually like once you have that graphic, take out all the junk and just get a clean outline from that.
Right.
I would love to learn how to do that.
Right. Yeah. So Jens Kudelik has posted some screenshots of Robo font extension he wrote to sort of do this. Mm-hmm. And Frederick Berland did one with Calculator. FontForge already has that functionality. It's called Expand Stroke. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't think it's the math behind that is too hardcore. But I don't think that we would ever want to expose the final outline for kids. I think that we should be keeping it they see the preview of the outline, right? And in the sidebar here, they get to pick which pen nib they're using. And the pen nib is, a glyph in the font. Yeah. But the system isn't going to show them outlines. Yeah. And they have to, so instead of this outline H, they have this, and then down here, this is what they're saying is the black shape. Yeah. but I think that stroke-based stuff is kind of the stretch goal for the summer, right? But, we can just start with.
That's something. I mean, figuring out the stroke-based stuff is. I've tried to do that in lots of different programming languages, and it's something I always get stuck on. The math's always like a little bit too confusing. But I mean, so that's something that I'd be super interested in, like someone like Walter or Yash, like explaining to me, kind of like helping me figure it out.
Well, yeah. So Jens Kuklit's probably the first person I would ask because he's just been working on this in Robofont, right?
Okay.
And I mean, he's like a monotype employee, but he's a pretty reasonable guy and he's cool. And there's also a French guy who just joined Apple. He also had something similar. But I mean, the font forward C code is, public. Yeah, see how it does it, and it does it quite nicely, I think. And then Glyphs itself also has some expand stroke stuff that's quite advanced, and you might be willing to liberate, because the way he made Glyphs is very like componentized. So yeah, potentially you could liberate that little piece. Okay, so we make these edits up here, and then we come back into this level, and then we say activate, and then it generates a true type and activates it in the system. And then you switch activities into right, and then the font is there. And I guess another aspect of this is going to be like that, like most basic metadata, right? That's like the name. There's like an edit button to edit the name.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of related to forking. I don't know if how.
I just really like the idea of this, like how this card's looking with like fork and merge and share, like. Yeah, I think having those options like presented for kids, I think is really. I mean, what do you know? Like, what is software that like deals with like those kind of concepts for kids and does it?
I don't know. I think you have used Trigger more than I have. So how does Tantan deal with this?
It's not very obvious. Like, it's not. I don't think it's something that. I mean, this is like a big question for like UI design in general. Is like as these forking and merging ideas like become more popular. How do you present them in a way that makes sense?
Well, so we were talking about this glyph history fork and merge stuff.
Yeah.
Which would be presented at this level of the hierarchy, but it's actually about these objects. Right?
Yeah.
It's these objects. History has to be shown in the next level up. But then as a total, the individual total fonts histories would need to be shown at this level, and so which is the stuff. Right? And so we talked about it being blog style, so that this is the current version, and on hover it's like this, but so.
Like the wacky things.
This is like the latest versions, right? So we've got this crazy A and this crazy B, and then we have some headlines, and then like some smaller text, and then this is the previous version that had a, that would be like this, and A like this. And then
I wonder if the
this is like the next family, right?
I wonder if the info card could have some basic like stats, like have like glyph count, or
again, like here you're gonna have a scroll bar.
Yeah,
it's going to show you a lot of things to see. And then this is like. Previous version of this one. Yes. Notice brown. And then that's also what you scroll down here.
I don't know if I like the two scroll bars, but
So spreadsheet,
yeah.
it probably doesn't even fit on the memory of an Excel.
I hate scroll bars. I've been constantly deactivating scroll bars on my computer, even though it like makes it harder to use, so I don't have to look at them. Okay, I think I'm having a little bit of trouble just picturing how this will work.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that we talked about forking and merging. You want to have these fork and merge buttons.
And then so if you click merge, you get that window.
Well, hang on. So no, this is like another family. So we're talking about having all the different families, but maybe we don't have all the different families because they're selected over here. Right? So that's kind of going off detail. We'd actually not have to deal with that kind of complexity. So then that gets rid of this scroll bar.
Okay.
Because you only select one family, right? We've selected sugar sands, and so then this is the sugar sands history, and then like we have this version, and then it's forked.
But this, I mean, realistically, the changes aren't always going to be visible in the sample, because a lot of times, like the changes might be like you're working on.
Sure, but they're named, aren't they? Right. These are the branches, and so at the top, then we have like master, and then this is like curly idea.
Early idea. Okay. Yeah. And so when you select when you select fork over here, that would give, you'd enter the name down here, curly. Yeah.
Label on the fork action. Well, hang on. So what actually, basically what we're inventing here and here is glyph journals and font journals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like looking at, like, having it behave similar to how the journals work.
Right.
Be a good idea.
But then, isn't that kind of like the idea of the journal itself is to you have your activity spiral,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pick which activity to go in. And then when you enter that activity, it reloads your last open activity document,
Mm-hmm.
and then you carry on editing it. And then when you hit stop, then it says describe what you did, and you commit that new state to the journal. And then in your journal, you have this date-ordered list of your previous application states.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go back to any one of those and then start working on it again.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like your Git history, you have your journal, and you have this, and then you have like a orphan, like different branch for a different app. So it's like, this is like write, and then this is like Tamtam, and then I don't know, and then this is like browse.
Mm-hmm.
So like in 2 hours, you wrote some stuff, you made some music, you checked out some stuff on Wikipedia, and your journal is recording each of these things.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the spiral home screen, there's essentially a branch picker, because each activity has a branch in the journal. And so when you look at the journal history, then you're looking at this top down,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can load like three journal saves back your document and write.
Mm-hmm.
And then that basically like pushes this one to the front
Of the journal, and then it's like, that's now at the front of the journal.
right. And so when we add a font editor activity, then we've got our journal, and we've got like writing some things, and then making some music, and then we have like our font editing session where we change. This is like we changed the A, and then we have the crazy B, and then we have like crazy C. So in the journal, we'd see these different versions. And if we want to go back to an earlier version, we just load it, we find it in the journal.
Okay, so this is, so say you just make early version, it shows up in the journal like that. So then, say I make a curly fork of a font I'm working on. I close the application. I come back the next day and I open up edit fonts to the home screen. Or do I open it from the journal?
But if you go to the spiral and you click edit fonts, it's gonna reload this one.
The curly one.
The curly
what
one.
if
But
I
if you go to the
hated
journal,
the curly
then you go to the journal and you see these previous versions,
one?
and then you load the straight one, and it now becomes the font that's loaded in the editor.
What if I don't know how to do that? If I just like open edit fonts, because I want to use edit fonts again.
Right.
And I'm looking for.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think the journal's a bit shit.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that like I think that like that's a problem with sugar, is that like there's like a lot of assumptions about how people use the journal. And there's like this assumption that the journal is great and like everyone uses it exactly as intended. But I would love to go to a deployment and like watch people like use sugar. Like I really don't imagine most people use the journal as expected. Yeah. Like even with like just me using sugar, even though I know all about the journal, I've read all about it. Yeah. It's not always my first thought to go there. Yeah. I might open the application first and try to do what I need to do, and then I'll go into the journal after I can't do what I'm trying to do. So that will remind me, I'll say like, hey, why can't I do it? Oh yeah, I should probably.
So you think that we should be building our own internal font journal at the glyph and the style level?
No. I think that we should just do what is simple and easy, so we don't like, overcomplicate that.
But that's what I mean. If you want to have form and merge.
You think that's just too complicated? We shouldn't do it?
No. I think that we should do it, and maybe calling this a journal is going to put everyone's backs up, and that's not going to be, politically a good idea. So maybe we call it, the version control.
Isn't that what the journal is?
It's like project history.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is kind of what the journal is, but I mean, there's like one of the Google Summer Code projects is to make like a Git back journal, right? Yeah. Because the concepts that are in the journal are these kinds of things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of bogus, right? Like, I was just saying that your journal, each activity has its own branch for its user data, but that's not how things are done.
Is there a way? Can you just send people to the journal? Can you just have like a button that's? Can you just put like a journal button there and it sends you to the you click on it? That's probably not.
I think it's a stop button.
Stop button.
When you click the stop button, then it says send. What have you been doing?
But it takes you to the home screen. It doesn't go straight to the journal.
Oh. So how do you save in the journal?
It should just automatically save in the journal.
The journal's passive.
Yeah.
And that's what is currently being debated about the screenshot activity, because that guy wants to add like a save as screenshot.
Yeah, the way I mean, I could be wrong. Sugar is a huge thing, and there's a lot to learn. But my understanding is that if you do a bunch of stuff in an activity and hit the stop button, the expectation should be that you can look in your journal later and resume that activity. Mm-hmm. Right?
I think so. Yeah. Okay.
This is honestly like the journal stuff isn't something I thought about before.
Sure.
So I'm like a little bit overwhelmed by things. Like I think it's the kind of thing I'm just gonna have to like think about it for a couple of days and then
well, I think that
I'm like right now, like just now, I'm realizing it is like a problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, this whole version control history stuff, I think this is like super advanced functionality that I don't think we're going to get to in the next 2 months, right?
Yeah.
Having a very simple drill down where you can clone a font and then that's it. Like there's no merge basically, right? Because the reason you need this history stuff is to manage the merging, and that if we don't bother with that, then you just duplicate it at that moment, and then you have to keep track of it. Yeah, and that's totally acceptable. I think that's fine. Right. The point is,
I mean, that's all most people are going to want to do. It's just like, I want to make a version of this.
Right. So you have add new, and it adds something blank, but maybe probably if there's a regular, you want to say duplicate the regular, rename it italic, and then go in and start changing them into italics, glyphs.
It's funny because that's actually like how I work on fonts, and I try to cover it up. Like I'm always like covering my workflow for like working on a font is like I can't start with a blank canvas. I just have to whatever it is. I'm starting with something existing,
right?
And then I always feel like I wish that was more the accepted way.
No, I think I agree with you, right? I think that's the
because I can't just go on like type drawers and say like, hey, here's this font I'm working on. That's like I'm just like replacing some of the glyphs in this one for just now, but like bear with me, like.
Well, probably on type drawers, the sharks are going to come out, right? But I think that's actually a very natural way of approaching type design, right? It's kind of fucked up that there's this culture of proprietary originality that is kind of a farce because letters look alike.
Yeah.
And so if you can be honest and say, here's this font that's licensed freely, and then I cloned it, and then I made these modifications, and now it looks and feels different, that's totally legitimate type design practice.
Yeah.
And I mean, similar to what we were talking about a bit earlier, before the session, right, about like the superficiality of doing something that just evokes a feeling and doesn't take into account the functional repercussions of that design, of those design choices.
Yeah.
Then in a culture which has been dominated by a proprietary licensing model, then people will say, oh, this is very superficial. But I mean, I'm hoping that we can change that. So last year we did this project. I did this project with Rosetta, where I commissioned them to publish Scholar Gujarati as a Libra font, and then to create a Latin to go with it, where they started with Merriweather and tweaked it into something different.
Yeah.
And I hope that by having high-profile founderies like Rosetta do this process, which is very natural, that we can start to legitimize it. But I think for kids, that's not going to be a question. Like, they don't give a fuck.
That's like the natural way. I feel like that's the natural way for a kid to be is like to interact with a font is like I'm gonna like open up this font and make the B look stupid.
Yeah,
that's like all they want to do.
Right. But I don't think that they do they want to be able to reset the B to what it used to be?
I think so.
I think that's good, right? There's a huge safety aspect.
Yeah, like that idea of like
reset.
I'm messing with this, but I can easily reset it. Is kind of that's nice.
Right. So maybe we want to have some kind of like some kind of lock on these that allows you to, sort of say like this is like a saved version. Like in Git, you can tag things, you can tag a certain commit, and then then you can just show the history of tags, so that all of your kind of interstitial edits get abstracted away, and you just get a list of releases, and then maybe 100, 200 little changes between those big releases. and that allows you to zoom out to a different level of scale, which is sort of on the family level, right? Because you might have sugar sands V1, and then sugar sands V2, and then you might have sucrose sands, which is sort of normally sugar sands V3, but it's become its own thing.
Yeah.
Because the B's stupid.
Yeah.
How well do you think it works with activities being numbered?
What do you mean?
You have like write 32 and tam 47.
For the users?
Yeah.
I think I don't know if they really. I mean, the average sugar user, are they like updating their activities?
I think that we see from the activities.sugarlabs.org traffic.
Yeah.
People are downloading.
Let's say you've got an activity and you use it all the time, you'll go and check if there's a new version like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's fine. Makes sense.
But I guess what I mean is that sugar really puts those versions like in your face, right? That like write 37 on the home screen spiral, it says like write 37. Is that right?
I have not noticed that, but now I'm gonna look.
Or does it just say write?
It usually just says write.
Maybe it does just say write. And it's on activities.sugarlabs.org that we see the numbers. Okay. We've talked about the UFO versus TTF split, right? So, and that we're going to try and abstract away the binaries and the system font managing, and that our editor activity is going to focus on UFOs. Yeah. And so you could have Sugar Sands V1 and Sugar Sands V2, and then you hit your export button, and that's activated, but it's activated as Sugar Sands.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you activate Sugar Sands V2, then that becomes no. I don't think that's too clever. Because if you activate this one first,
then there might be a confusion of like, I want this to be called Sugar Sands V1 because that's how I.
Yeah, I think it has to be stable.
Like,
right?
export both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's not got the V and it's just like integers. But yeah, I think the family name has what it is. Okay.
I feel like we've got a lot to like think about.
Yeah.
Would you want to like kind of call it quits?
Yeah, it's good. I'll have to do that. Yeah. I think in terms of our request for Yash, I think what I would like him to do is literally have this as just like GTK list cells.
Yeah.
Right. So that it's like the macOS Finder where you have the columns view, and you just have like list views of folder names, and you like click, 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 click. And I think that's like V2, right? Because V1 is what he has like this week. Yeah. Which is like there's no UX plan. It's just widgets that work that allow you to create a new font, create glyph, create contour, and then save it out, right? And so that's kind of borrowing through this, but the UI is just the widgets he's thrown up to make it work. Yeah. So I think that the V2 should be just like these lists, it's like just text labels, not even like font previewing or anything really graphical like this. Yeah. But it's just drilling down, and maybe because he has the Glyph Grid, then we can just use that, and then the focus for V2 is going to be on this area. Yeah. And then once this is sort of reasonable,
I mean, once that's reasonable, I think a lot of the UI is just going to fall into place because it's just going to come from testing where. Like once it gets to the point where you can easily test, it's just going to be a matter of like noticing things and then fixing.
Yeah. And so then for V3, then we would work on like this aspect of it. So the first launch is enticing, and
for V2, what would the first screen be? It would just be the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we will try and get to V3 by the end of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, it's a lot to. Yeah, I think there's a lot of new things I didn't think about before.
Yeah. Okay. So this is good. We can sign up the pool, and then ask to watch it. That's how long has this been?
Sorry, Josh, it's a long time.
Let's check it out. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.